When you look at the iconic New York skyline, you're seeing the result of a century-long legal battle over a precious resource, sunlight. The sharp angles of the skyscrapers and the sheer glass walls of the office towers exist because of specific codes designed to keep the streets below from falling into permanent darkness. Manhattan is a vertical timeline of human ambition, physically restricted by the borders of the island and the movement of the sun. For its first 2 centuries, the city expanded horizontally. This early period was defined by simple Dutch traditions, utilitarian wooden structures, and brick facades with gabled roofs designed to withstand the coastal climate. By the late 19th century, New York hit an absolute limit. An exploding population was trapped on an island that had run out of ground, forcing the city to find a way to stack people on top of each other. Moving the city upward solved the density crisis, but it introduced a new set of logistical and legal problems that would determine the shape of every building to come. The first shift toward density was driven by fire. After the Great Fire of 1835, New York severely limited wood frame construction, making stone and brick mandatory materials for a growing city. Developers turned to Connecticut brownstone, a reddish-brown sandstone that was cheap to extract and easy to carve. It allowed them to mimic expensive architecture, turning the brownstone row house into the ultimate middle-class status symbol. In reality, brownstone refers only to the thin layer of cheap sandstone facing. These mass-produced townhouses were dressed up to look wealthy for families seeking status within city limits. Even these dense rows of housing couldn't keep up with the population. Horizontal space was gone. To survive, architects had to build structures that defied the traditional limits of height. While the brownstones solved the problem of fire and status, it did nothing to address the existential threat of a booming population on a finite island. The invention of the elevator and steel frame construction finally allowed buildings to rise far beyond traditional heights, enabling a leap into the modern era. Skyscrapers like the Woolworth Building, nicknamed the Cathedral of Commerce, combined these modern materials with Gothic revival details, using turrets and pointed arches to celebrate their new verticality. But these massive, unregulated towers created a new crisis. They acted as vertical walls that blocked the sun, plunging streets below into permanent shadow. The city responded with the 1916 zoning resolution. This law acted as an invisible mold, requiring buildings to step back as they grew taller so that sunlight could still reach the streets below. The tapered tops and steel spires of the Chrysler Building and Empire State Building were direct results of these laws. The iconic Art Deco wedding cake style was a legal necessity. Have you ever noticed this specific stepped architecture in your own city? Let me know in the comments which buildings follow this pattern. The silhouettes we associate with the most romantic era of New York were shaped by a legal requirement for light. Following World War II, architects moved away from stone ornamentation and setbacks toward the international style. They favored simplicity, functionality, and the use of glass and steel. The Seagram Building became the ideal of this movement. It was a 40-story slab of amber glass and bronze that rose straight up, abandoning the wedding cake setbacks of the previous generation. Developers bypassed the setback law through a new trade-off. By occupying only a fraction of their lot for a public plaza, the city allowed the tower to rise straight up as a continuous glass slab, creating a new urban standard. The Seagram Building proved that the skyline was still a battle over space and light, but the rules of that battle had changed. Modernism removed the gargoyles and spires because the ultimate luxury in Manhattan was the presence of open space and pure, uninterrupted light. On the same grid, you can see Dutch simplicity, Art Deco elegance, and Modernism minimalism. They all coexist as a mosaic of styles. Necessity and strict zoning laws dictated the silhouettes of classic New York. The city we see today was carved by the specific demands of the law and the geography of the island. The skyline stands as a record of constant adaptation, reflecting how the city evolves whenever it hits a physical or legal limit. Reaching these heights required more than just light. It required the engineering of the subway system hidden beneath the streets and the high-speed elevators hidden within the walls. If you enjoyed this look at the history of the skyline, hit the like button. Tell us your favorite New York building in the comments, and subscribe for our next deep dive into how our cities are built.